Today we will be learning how to make a Gorgonzola and grape tart, brought to you by Doorway Food Blog. For this recipe, you will need Gorgonzola cheese, seedless grapes, frozen puff pastry, cracked black pepper, and egg wash. Let's begin. Start by preheating your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and set out your puff pastry to defrost for about 10 minutes.
I feel like I'm forced to break.
Meanwhile, slice all the grapes in half.
Is that a crime? I feel
Set them aside for now.
following shadows and shadows.
Lightly flour a cutting board to make sure that your puff pastry doesn't stick to it.
I feel like I'm
Working with half of a sheet at a time, smooth out the seams in the puff pastry and any cracks it might have from when you unfolded it.
It's not that I don't know. It's not that I can see.
Cut each half of the pastry into thirds or another size that you'd like for your tarts, but we found that thirds worked well for us.
It's not that I can see.
Transfer your thirds onto a parchment paper-lined baking sheet.
I feel
Next, using an egg wash made by beating a whole egg, brush the edges of each tart. This will make the tart's edges become golden brown when they're in the oven.
I feel like a child without a father, and mama tries.
Once you've brushed the edges of the tarts with the egg wash, place the grapes in rows in the middle of the tarts, leaving gaps between them.
I wonder why.
When all the grapes have been placed, sprinkle the crumbled Gorgonzola cheese in between the gaps.
I'm not the only one who's frustrated.
Repeat for each tart, and then do the same with the remaining half sheet of the puff pastry.
I can't escape it. I feel that the destination.
Once all the tarts are done, sprinkle the black pepper on top to taste. Your end result should look something like this.
It's not that I don't know.
Place the tarts in the 425 degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes.
I haven't noticed. It's driving me insane.
In the oven, the tarts should rise and their edges should become golden brown. The cheese should also start to bubble. At this point, you want to take them out. Set them aside for a few minutes while they cool slightly. You can admire them in the meantime. I mean, they look pretty frickin' amazing.
I feel
We like to cut the tarts in half, just so that they're easier to share. But you can either cut them in smaller pieces or leave them as is. It's up to you. Once you do this, they're ready to be plated.
in a way. I feel
While we heavily endorse sharing, we suggest you save one for yourself because these are so good that they'll go super fast. We hope you enjoyed this recipe, and check back in the next 2 weeks for your next gourmet dish that you can make at home.
I can see.